Welcome to another edition of Radio Influencers, a podcast series we're doing for Radio Update, and I have Danny Hill as my guest today. How you doing, Danny?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, you're the owner of Hill Broadcasting in Bakersfield, California, correct?
That is correct. I own Hill Broadcasting, and we
And
have four signals right now, but only two formats.
and you're also the Week 14 Content of the Week winner for Radio Update.
Which is pretty big deal. I was excited about that. I took the Amazon gift card immediately, and my wife's like, "Are you sure this isn't a scam?" I was like, "Well, if it is, they're going to get all $22 in our savings account, so that's going to be exciting for them."
I thought the thing most I thought she was going to say is the thing most shows argue about is who gets the gift card. You know,
Oh no, we're married, so she gets everything, so it's
yeah.
never a question.
But that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on is I wanted to talk about that content you created that helped you win that award. But before we get into that, can you kind of tell them your radio origin story, how you got into this silly business we're all in?
Sure. I went to Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo, and I was dating a girl named Kelly. I won't say her last name, but she broke my heart, and I was crying in front of my math class. I didn't want to go into my math class, and in between tears, I saw this guy who was like really overweight and ugly, and he was surrounded by these really beautiful girls. And I was drying my tears, and I went, what does he do?" And I walked up to him and I was like, after they left, I was like, why were they talking to you? And he's like, they listen to my radio show. And I was like, radio show? And he's like, yeah, they think I'm cool because of my radio show. And I was like, and that works? And he said, yes. And I was like, well, I want to do that. So then I paid, it was $5 for 15 minutes, and I gave him $20, and I did a whole hour show, and I played horrible music, and I sounded horrible because it was like a college radio show. And then from
Sure.
there, I signed up, and I finished my class early, and the final of the class was you had to apply to a local radio station, and I applied, and I got hired. And then I was an intern, hired. I was an intern, and then from
Right.
catching morning news feed. This was back in the day where you had to like catch feed, if you remember that. So like they
Hmm.
would have like these things that would beep, and then you would catch the feed and you'd rip it off the printer, and I'd take it into the announcer, because it was an AM station, and he'd read it, and if I had time, I'd highlight what I thought was important. And then they upped me to the PSA director, which was a big deal for me because now I was getting paid instead of just trade.
Yeah.
And then his brother worked at the top 40 station in the market, and they needed an overnights guy when they still had live overnights. And they hired me to do overnights. And then from there, it just kind of took off. And I just kept trying to do bigger, 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 bigger. And I was never been really successful in anything I've done. I've just, for some reason, been able to outlast everybody else. So it's weird because I always hear my friends, they always talk about, I was number one in this market and number one in this market. And I was like, I was a solid three. I was never number one. Like I was always, I was in the conversation. I had they did like a big book once and it's market them in Bakersfield. And it was when I was working for Alpha Media. They came in and did like a whole assessment of the market, and they came back and they said, you have a really high appeal. Like people really, really like you, but they just don't seem to know you.
Yeah.
They said that's because of the format you're on. Because I've always been like a hot AC, like guy, and so I was like, oh, that's cool. So I guess I'll never be really successful then, because people, the ones that know me like me, I guess, but the ones that don't know me, they don't know, they don't know.
Well, and it's funny what
So
you
that was
said
it.
about talking to other radio buddies that they brag about being number one. The thing when you really drill down on that, what you'll find out a lot of the times is there. I mean, there's ways to parse the numbers where you're number one in something. So a lot of times they'll
Oh
be like,
yeah,
"I was
yeah,
number one," and it's like, "Yeah, number one, 25, 54 males only." You know what I mean? Where you really break it down
yeah.
and get granular. You can in this one specific day part. So um,
Yeah,
certainly don't.
it's been interesting. And the people who did do well, they usually end up because they end up going on a station that's always been number one. So
Yeah.
like, there's certain in every market we all know that station. Like when I was in Hawaii, I'm still in Hawaii now, but KSSK has been number one for like 30 years, right? So if you end up landing on that station, well, you're going to be a number one DJ because that station's number one. But I've never had that opportunity. I've always was
Well, and it's
always
always fun.
here.
I always have the conversation about beating those heritage number one stations, and it's such an uphill battle. I mean, it's really hard to knock off a station that's been at number one for a decade plus.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to screw it up themselves. And even then it's
Hmm.
hard for them to screw it up. they, it's hard for them to do it. So
So
yeah,
the
that's
uh,
my
the
history.
the viral post you did, do you want to set it up a little bit and kind of explain? I want to share my screen here and play it, but you want to kind of set it up how it happened or what inspired it?
Yeah, yeah. So the background story of this is pretty funny. So I'm a comedian. I do stand up comedy. Um, I'm a wedding DJ. I'm an on air DJ, and I'm a radio DJ. So I have a friend who does radio up in Fresno, and we're always on the phone. Radio people, we always talk. And he said
Hmm.
he had someone come in and talk to him about upside down pineapples being a sign for swingers. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, if you're like in a grocery store and if you have say, like an upside down pineapple, that means that they're a swinging couple. And I was like, that's stupid. I've never heard of that. And then I Googled it and I guess it's a thing. So
Yeah.
I was pulling into a gas station and I saw this apple and orange on top of a gas pump. And I was like, hey, Jeff, his name's Jeff. I was like, hey, look, an apple and orange. And I recorded this video to send him, like, I was joking at first. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do it serious. So I I put it up and I was like, hey, just so you guys are aware, there's this apple and orange here, and it's code for drug dealers. Da 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 da. And I did it as a joke for my buddy Jeff, and I did it for him. And you'll notice the top comment was him being like, "What if it's a pineapple?" And I was like, "Get ready to party." And I went to bed that night like thinking my joke had hit right because I usually do deadpan jokes and then the next morning I woke up and it was at like a million views. And I'm like, why is this at a million views? And I looked and started reading the comments and I'm like, oh my God, they think it's real. And and I told my wife, I was like, babe, they think like I've cracked the code for drug dealers at gas stations. And she's like, yeah, people are stupid. And I go, but who gets their news from like DJ? Like my handle's DJ Danny Hill. Like that shouldn't be your news source. You know what I mean? Like, so then it went from like a million. By that afternoon, it was like 3 million. And then that next day, it was at 10 million. And then I started having celebrities follow me, and I started like talking to Gabriel Iglesias, and Fluffy followed me, and he started looking at my stand up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this opened up a door, and I went from
Yeah.
1,900 followers to I just passed 45,000 followers in like 3 weeks, I think, or 4 weeks.
Here's the
So,
post.
if you ever see this at a gas station, an apple and orange, do not grab one of them. So what's happening is those two right now, see that right there? We're being scoped out by a drug dealer nearby, and if you grab one of them, whether it be the orange or the apple, they'll come over and give you the drug that you've just asked for. And if you didn't ask for a drug, you're in a world of hurt. So just heads up. If you're at a gas station, you see an orange or an apple, I mean, inside's fine, but not on the top. Don't do it on the top.
So I think it's your delivery that makes it believable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and I'm also at a gas station that's at a busy intersection, so I knew if I lifted over my shoulder, there'd be cars driving by, and there just happened to be a car driving by, and it's funny. And you know what's even funnier about this? You being a radio guy and people that are in radio watching this, it was apparently so believable that iHeart picked it up and Town Square Media, and they put it in all of their posts, and they then made it regional to their market. So it was like warning citizens of Idaho, don't choose fruit on the top of gas stations. And then it was like iHeart in Texas, look out, Texas, don't choose fruit. And I was like, do they even know I'm a syndicated radio host? Like in some of these markets, I was on the competitor's website when I was on the air across the street, and they were promoting my Instagram. It was the funniest thing ever, and I didn't want to tell them, so I just let it happen. and
Well,
they're
the way I found out about it was first Rich O'Brien with Radio Resources and Alex Quintero. They sent it to me because they know you, and they were like, "You got to
yeah.
talk to this guy and about this content." But then I saw it on one of the podcasts I watch periodically. Is Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and
Yeah,
his
Tom picked
wife.
it up.
Yeah, and they talked about because she's big on TikTok and all that stuff. So they picked it up off of there and talked about it, and they thought it was real too. I think.
They thought it was real. And you know what the biggest concern most people have is my beard. I've never had more people get so angry with my beard color. Like they're mad. And they'll I've had people message me and they're like, screw your face, right? I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like this is how I look. I If I had to choose a look, I wouldn't choose this. I would choose like I had hair, I would be handsome, but yeah, so there's that. Elvis Duran did a whole segment on it, and then he posted it on his website under his. And that's how I found out other people were quoting it because I had a friend go, "Hey, dude, this is on Elvis Duran's Facebook page," and it was me. And I was like, "Oh boy, nobody's nobody's fact checking this. They're just going with it." And I was so yeah, it was pretty big. So I have all these famous people following me now, and I try messaging them. Some of them message back, some don't. But it's funny, like Olympians, baseball players, soccer players, WWE wrestlers, comedians, some celebrities. But yeah, it went like this to like this. And our radio station page, I was able to get up to 180,000 followers in like 6 months. So I'm fairly good at Instagram, um, and
Well,
and my other page got put on 180-day probation for copyright infringement. So that's why I did this on. This was the second post I did on my own personal page because I normally just used it for wedding stuff, and it
yeah.
took
Well,
off.
and that's what. So obviously, I'm always pushing talent, on air talent, to do more with social media, the big pushback I get a lot of times, and I understand it because I've been in those shoes, is just how busy they are with other things. But I mean, you own multiple stations. You got
Yeah,
a bunch of kiddos running around. You're a busy
five
fella.
kids.
You
Yeah.
have 5 kids. I know how busy I am with two, so five's got to be, just insane. But you still find the time to do things like this because you get the importance of it.
Yeah, it's real important. In fact, I have more people that now know me from Instagram than my radio here in town, which is weird. And I don't know if it's they know me or they can now visibly see me. Because
Yeah.
before, when I would speak, they would say, "Oh, you're the guy on the radio." But now I'll see them from across the room, and they're like, "I had an old lady last night. She's, you don't know who's watching, and she must have been like in her 70s, and she comes up to me at dinner and she goes, 'I want you to know." I just found your Instagram page and it's hilarious. She's like, at first I thought it was real, and now I realize you're being sarcastic. Because all my stuff, I have several that are in the millions, and all my stuff is very it's like dry comedy. Like I did one that's up to 4 million views, and it was on Memorial Day, and they had like these skydivers come in, so everybody in the town was looking up. And then I recorded the crowd, and I did a picture, and I said once a year the smog clears up in Bakersfield, and everybody looks at the sky to see what the color of the sky is. And it's got 4 million views, and there's people arguing over whether or not that's real, and then they're like the locals because they know it's not real. They love to mess with the people who are outside of the market. So it becomes this like our city versus their city thing, and they eat it up. So every day I do a new video where I make up some sort of absurd thing about Bakersfield, and they think it's hilarious. And then the people outside of it, that's not true. There's no waterfalls in Bakersfield. And I'm like, yeah, I know. We know there's no
Uh,
waterfalls here, but
but it's a really funny way to localize something. And what I love is I always encourage people to kind of, because the question about having the time for it is to make it manageable. You just have to have in the back of your mind, like, is this a chance to capture some content? Because none of the stuff takes very long. So if you just kind of, as you're going throughout your
yeah.
day, you got your phone there, and I'm sure that's how you do it. Is it just kind of, as an idea comes to you, you make a note and you either do it then or do it later. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, all throughout my whole day, I'm recording different stuff, right? And I'm just somewhere and I'll look at this and I'll go, oh, that's interesting. Like yesterday, I was getting a sandwich and the city of Bakersfield has decided to paint all the electrical boxes around the market, right? And there are all these different murals. But the one I was at in particular was a viper coming out of a flower and it had fangs. And I put, oh, that's funny. So I recorded it for like 7 seconds and I did a voiceover on it. And I said, the city of Bakersfield, in an effort to welcome out of towners, have decided to put vipers that will kill and strangle innocent creatures on the electrical boxes as a way of showing good faith. And I mean, everyone here is like, dude, that's hilarious because they know what that electrical box is, and it's really like weird, right? Because all the other ones are nice, but this one's like a snake getting ready to kill something. So that's what I do is I just find that if you live in a market long enough, you know all the little quirks about it. So I know what side to make fun of. We all make fun of Oildale, and they make fun of Oildale. You just, as long as you
Yeah.
do it in a nice manner, you know what side of town's rich, you know what side of town's poor. So when I do my jokes, I'm just like, could it be worse? You could be in Southeast Bakersfield, and everyone's like, ha, 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 that's true. And even people in Southeast Bakersfield are like, yeah, we don't want to be here either. Um,
Well,
so
and it's
that's
all
just,
lighthearted jabs. It's kind of like here in DFW, we have the Fort Worth, Dallas, rivalry, and I mean Fort Worth takes it a little more seriously than Dallas does, but both sides it's kind of lighthearted ribbing of each other, and none of it's offensive or anything like that. But what it made me think of when you were talking, do you follow any of those accounts where they do like a fake police department and they pretend like they're putting in these insane laws, or they post
oh,
really
yeah, yeah, like,
crazy stuff. It's
those are
kind of
funny.
similar to what you're talking about, because
Yeah,
people go, half the people in the comments think it's real and are like, I cannot believe you guys would do this, and then the other half get it's a joke and are like, are you serious? Of course they're not.
that's funny.
And you do a morning show with your wife.
Yes, yes. My wife, Danny and Kate. She's my best friend. If she was in here, I would love it for her, you guys to meet her. But um, she's uh, she's awesome. We've been together for 11 years. We have 5 kids, and she's the greatest person I've ever met. So I love being with her. We spend all our time together, from
Yeah.
the minute we wake up to doing the show together to we drop the kids off together, we pick up the kids together. She recently, about 2 years ago, um, and this is a funny story. So there's a station in the market, and it's called KGET. It's Channel 17, and they had a lifestyle host that just quit abruptly, and they called us up and they said, "Hey, would you be able to fill in for this, just until we found someone?" And I was like, "Yes, I would love to do this. I can't wait to do it. I'm so excited." And the guy goes, "We were actually thinking your wife could do it, right?" And I was like,
Oh, not
"Oh,
you, sir.
cool."
Yeah.
Cool, 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 cool. So then me, I'm the one that likes being in front of I'm like, look at me, look at me, look at me. She's the opposite. She doesn't like doing radio. She doesn't like doing television. This is not her thing. Like if she could just not be involved at all. And I'm the one that's been like, you sound great on the radio. And so I've really, really pushed her into this. I had to sit down and talk to her. And I'm like, babe, like you should do this. It'll be great. And she's like, nah, just tell them I don't want to do it. I'm like, no, no, like this is a big, they don't just ask people to be on TV. Like this is a big opportunity. And she's like, I don't want to do it. So I'm like, babe, just try it, see if you like it. And she's like, all right, I'll try it. And she did great and she killed it. So then she was the host of the show for like, I want to say like 5 months before they ended up, hiring someone to do it. And then she ended up staying on as the co-host. So now she's been on with doing TV stuff. So she's on, off and on TV, and she gets dressed up. She goes in and does interviews and talks to people. And so I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
you know, she's done a really, she's one of these people that, like, for me, I don't know how you are, but it's easy. Like, I love being in front of people and talking. It's not easy for her. So for her to bite the bullet and to really try and do something out of her zone is pretty impressive. So, but yeah,
Well, but that dynamic between the two of y'all often makes for a good show, because if you have two folks like you or like I on a show, then there's the one-upmanship, and it, it can turn
yeah,
into some super long breaks that get away
yeah.
from you. And so, yeah, I mean that's a good dynamic between the two of y'all.
Our show is basically me being stupid and her telling everybody she's that wife that's like, that's not true. What he just said is not. That's not. That didn't happen. And then I'll be like, babe, it could have happened, and she'll be like, but it didn't. It didn't happen. I'm like, but they don't know that, and she'll be like,
Oh,
it sounds as horrible as you don't hear it, but it
if
sounds like
I
you're lying. And I'm like,
if I
oh
had a
boy.
nickel for every time the wife has busted me at a dinner party or something, because she'll do the same thing, and I'm like, she goes, "That's not how it happened," and I'm like, "They weren't there. I'm embellishing just a little bit to make it a good story. That's what
Yes,
we do, you know."
it's what we do. It's a good
Yeah.
story. Dude, that's
People
not
more
true.
care about more about being entertained than whether it's a real story. Come on.
Yeah, but
So
it's good.
as a
And that,
as a guy that's been in radio for a while, what are some of the unique challenges that you're facing now that you weren't years ago, or what's different about doing radio in 2024, good or bad?
I think we're the tail end of it because AI is taking over. Everything's AI. And as a business owner, like I don't know if you've messed around with 11 Labs at all, but
11
so
Labs
my
is
biggest
good. Yeah.
it's crazy, right? So as an owner, like I'm always like, oh, I got to find someone to voice this, and then I would go into like Radio Peeps or something, and be like, hey, can you voice this? And then someone would say yes, and they'd send it to you, and sometimes it was good or bad, but beggars can't be choosers, right? And I don't have a large staff, so I can't just keep having the same like five voices over and over again. And then my buddy who owns a station in North Dakota is like, hey, dude, have you seen 11 Labs? And I'm like, nah, that robot stuff. It doesn't sound good because you type it in, da 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 da, and it just doesn't flow right. And he's like, no, they've got speech to speech now. And I go, I don't know what that means. He's like, you record it in your voice, and then you take the file and transfer it in, and you can choose any voice you want, and it will mimic your cadence. And I go, shut your mouth. And he goes, yeah. So I'm able to record a spot, da 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 da. If I was like, this is a spot, right? If I was to do this one, do you have a voice? Are you an idol? Season 25, Road to the Fair Karaoke Contest is looking for you. Blah, 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 blah. I could take that audio, throw it in there, and I can make it a woman, and I can make her a Southern woman, or a woman from New York, or a woman from California, or whatever, and get the audio back. I can produce it, put it on the air. Nobody knows it's a robot. They have no idea, and that eliminates having to pay someone. And like the DJ side of me, I hate it, right? I hate it because I'm like, this is horrible. It's the end of it. But as an owner, I'm like, this is $9.99 a month, and I get endless voices, and it costs nothing. But the $10, oh boy, if I didn't own my stations, I'd be scared to death right now because they are.
Well, I mean,
That is a lot.
believe me, I get asked about it a lot. I write about it a lot. My blog that this will come out next Tuesday. My blog that I'll publish today, Wednesday, today, is about whether AI could completely run a radio station, and it can't yet, but it will be able to at some point. And
Yeah,
am
I think it.
I'm still of the mindset that you should it should be used to supplement, and basically I don't think you should fire anybody and replace them with AI. I think you should
Yeah.
keep the existing staff you have and use AI to make five people seem like 50. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So,
Yeah, no, I
so
agree with that.
because we're essentially we've cut to the bone for years and years anyway. I think you keep the people you've got and use AI to supplement it, and you get jocks around the clock. I mean, how many people have jocks 24/7 anymore? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with
Yeah, you can
AI, you
make
can affordably
you
do it.
can you can make your station sound like it's a full staff station and there's all that. I think where radio can be where if radio for at least what works for me. So I'll tell you what works for me. I am a mom and pop station in a fairly large market, Bakersfield. And, we have like 1,000,004 people, so it's not small, but we're not too big. And we have iHearts here and Alpha and all that, and we do fairly well here because what I'm able to accomplish is to physically go see someone, and then I say, hey, you have a backpack drive, come in and talk about it, and we bring them in and talk about it, and all the stuff I learned in small market radio that I thought was so stupid and petty, like I don't want to talk about who lost a surfboard when I worked in Hawaii, and I don't want to talk about whose dog went missing or a garage sale on Saturday. it turns out that's what's going to save local radio, because if you do that stuff where you talk about the fundraiser for the kids with a disability at a local school, or the Alzheimer's Association, that draws them in and they bring in and they listen, and that's something AI can't do. AI can't do that because it's not alive. It can be fed information, but it can't have that conversation. And that's kind of where I see where you can save and
Yep.
do really good in local radio. Like that's good. But on a national level, it's hard to be like, the Boy Scouts of America or Girl Scouts of America is doing a cookie drive on L Street in Bakersfield, and you're in Alabama, so you don't care about this. Um,
Yeah.
so I think locally that's how you can beat AI, and you can still be important. Um, but a lot of
Well,
these,
and as an on-air talent, I mean that's why it's so important to do content only you can do. If you're ripping and reading from a prep service, AI can absolutely do that. You can feed a prep
a
service
hundred
right into
percent, yeah,
AI.
yeah,
But if
yeah.
you're doing your own unique angle to it and you're adding something to that content, then you're safe.
Yeah, and but from when I was younger, I'm sure like when you were younger, the stations used to have a lot of people in it, and now they've got like one for the building. I mean, the cuts
Yeah.
in my market alone, they just fired everybody at a local cluster, and they have like one person left, for three radio stations. And then there's another cluster in the market, and they've got nobody there. It's all remotely done, and these are major corporations, and you just go, wow.
Well, and people
Um,
think a lot of people in medium and small markets think it's only small and medium markets, and that's not the case. And it's the large broadcasters. It's in some of the large markets. I mean, everybody is
yeah.
fighting this. You know, everyone's trying to basically the big groups are trying to figure out how cheaply can I possibly run this without totally killing my local revenue. You know, that's the thing they've been
Yeah,
asking themselves. And then you add AI to that, and it just adds fuel to the fire. So
yeah,
the
where they
what you,
go.
yeah, because that just that kills what remaining folks there are. But what you said earlier is the key. Like if look where the answer for radio is local revenue, and to get local revenue, you have to have somebody there locally because someone has to have that relationship. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, there was a fire in our market that was up north. Lady lost her house, lost like, five animals. She was devastated. So we put the GoFundMe link in. We brought her in to talk to her. We did this whole thing about her. Nobody else did that. And, it
Yeah.
helped her raise money. She'll never forget that. Now you have, it's almost like, it's the same thing I always used to think. Experiencers are worth more than a prize, right? So you're giving someone experience, and that's the same way when you care about them a little bit, then they remember that. Because I remember when people are nice to me, especially when they didn't have to be. So I think that's key. And the longer, and it's not a quick game; it's a long game. So the longer I'm here, the more I do this, the more good I do, the more I help people, then the better off I am. Um, but I learned that in Hawaii. So I ran a cluster in Kauai, Hawaii, and I learned that. Kauai is interesting because it's only like 56,000 people. So you see everybody multiple times. The person you see at
Yeah.
Walmart who's checking you out, you're going to see at the beach that next day. So I learned that you have to get along with people even if you don't like them. And they have this expression they're called being pono or being good. And that's kind of how it works is you have to learn that you may not see this person again, but you might. And if you just treat them right and you help them out, then they'll remember you. And who knows, one day in the future, they may get that Nielsen, the old coveted Nielsen book, and then they go, "Oh, I remember Danny. He had me on his show." And then they fill it out, and there you go. And I get some bonus national money. But like 90% of my money is all local. It's all local, local, local,
Plus, it's
local.
the old school way of going viral. I mean, when you give somebody that experience you talked about, and when you
Yeah,
remember that there's a magic to radio that we're all kind of numb to because we've been doing it so long, but it is meaningful to people when they meet that on-air
yeah,
talent, when they go to that remote, they go to that event, they win that prize in that contest. They tell people, they tell a lot of their friends, they tell a lot of their family, and it just
yeah.
spreads. So it may seem like in the beginning like this stuff takes a lot of time, but as it swells, it can be really powerful.
Yeah, my favorite stories to tell people, and this is the truth, is we have like social media is a big deal. Like this is why I'm here because of my social media stuff. But you can find a an artist like that girl Gail. She's had that song ABCDEFU, right?
Mhm.
And she I don't know how many millions of followers on Instagram and TikTok, and she's this huge influencer. Her song crossed over to the radio. The video she did where she's in her car listening to the radio and she looks and goes, "Oh my God, I'm on the radio." This is a girl who's got 3 million followers on multiple different platforms, and her I can't believe it moment was when she made it to the radio. It wasn't the followership, which she got every single day in interaction. It was she made it to the radio. And the difference is, and I always remind people, is anybody can download an app and start a social media page, but not everybody
Sure.
can be on the radio or not everybody can be on TV. It's different. So that's what I think you're right. As radio people, we forget because we do it all the time and we get used to it. But if you remember, it's special. That's why we all got into it because not everybody gets to do it. It's a very unique set of people that are allowed to have a microphone and talk to people. And that's why there's so many people wanting to do podcasts because they all kind of want to do it. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
it's like a thing they want to do. They want to be heard. They want people to listen. But it's a different rush when it's like, oh, I'm on the air right now. Like people are listening this very moment. If I screw up, they're gonna know I screw up. Like this is it.
Well,
It's
and
a
it's a lot of fun. I mean, what I always remind folks is when we're all sitting around at a convention having a drink and telling stories, almost all the stories we tell are about fun things we did on the air or fun
yeah.
promotions we did or fun contests. I mean, it's all those things that radio's kind of gotten away from that we really love about it when it boils down to it, because that's the fun
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, it was always the fun stuff. It's always the promotions or the wacky things we were able to pull off or the yeah, that's still possible. You can still do it. And I think just a lot of people they get afraid to do it or they think it doesn't matter or it's not that big of a deal, but it is. That's what makes radio fun. That's what and it's
Just,
supposed to
just
be
don't
fun.
just don't WKRP it and drop live turkeys out of a helicopter.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy fella, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Anything else you want to hit?
Well, since a lot of radio people probably watch this, if you need a syndicated morning show, hit up G Networks. We would love to have a conversation with you. We just picked up another affiliate last week, so we're slowly building. Our show is kind of like this conversation. I'm not a big fan of fake bits. I used to do them when I was younger. You know, you'd hire the phone actors to call in, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Who sent you the roses?" And then all of a sudden, and the guy always answered, "Is this Brian?" And they're like, "What? What happened? What's going on?" And I think there's a place for that because, like, scripted television, like people know it's not real and they still watch it. So I think there's a place for
Sure.
that. But I think at my stage in my career, we're like real life conversationalists. So what we do is we have something that happens, like a beef truck, crashes into a Wendy's in Pennsylvania. How do you make that funny? That's a real story. How do you relay that information? And then you have to be there for when horrible things happen, attempted assassination. How do you talk about that without getting political?
Yeah.
And how do you relay information? And then just kind of being their friend. I always view it as we're friends, and I'm the friend that you would talk to for about anything. And we're not the place for goofy stuff. We're the place for fun conversations that are real, and it seems to go over well with the people I'm aiming towards, which is grown-ups, right? 25,
Yeah.
54. They seem to like that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with prank calls. I think they're hilarious. But once you maybe it's just me when you pull back the curtain and you're like, oh, this is so fake. After a while you're like, okay, this is really dragging on. Like, like I don't know what this is. But some people do it, and I'm not bad mouthing those that do it. that's not what we do, and I think that's our appeal, and that's why we've done fairly well. Like I said, top three, never number one.
What yeah, what formats does it fit on?
We seem to be big on top 40s and hot ACs. We just picked up a country format and classic, like
Classic
classic
hits.
formats, like classic hits, and you know, because I love like hip hop and R&B. Our station's rewind, so bumpins and rewinds and throwback stations seem to do well with us. Country stations. I've been on. We're on a couple of them. We seem to be doing okay on country, but really, we're more like if even if I was to show you the back end of my Instagram, it's like 70% female. Like I really appeal to women. My wife appeals to women more than we do men. So I've never even considered doing rock or anything male based because I'm not really a guy's guy. Like I don't
Yeah.
work on cars. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not going to
Say
get into those. All my
say when the
conversations.
the repairman or whatever they come to do anything on the house, they always try to talk to me, and I'm like, no, that's the wife's department.
Yeah, that's her. That's
Yeah.
her job. My wife's the same
I have
way.
no idea what you're talking about, man.
We have
That's who you are.
four daughters, and my whole life is about beauty, makeup, different outfits, bluey. We talk depending on the age group. We talk about the words, the slang. So I am a father, and I have multiple women in my life. So my life is, Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter. Like we're all in it for that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's why a lot of our conversations are very female oriented, and I'm always like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I love Bridgerton, so we had a we had to do this whole thing with Bridgerton, and I just don't think that goes over well on rock formats, right? So I think that's the only one that we really wouldn't appeal to.
Well, but when it's a personality-driven show, it does tend to fit on multiple formats. You know.
Well, and that's the thing is I come across as the goofy idiot who makes fun of himself, right? And I think self-deprecation I was always taught is good because everyone's okay with you making fun of yourself. So whatever you are, like I make fun of bald people, I'm bald, redheads, I'm a redhead, I'm overweight, like this is what I'm working with, right? So I can make fun of that and then people appreciate that. And as long as you don't go out, I'm making fun of anyone else or attacking people but I use what I got, and I think you can go in and do that, and it comes across pretty funny, and it takes a little bit. And we're one of those shows that you listen to it, and I don't know if I get it, and then it's like 2 or 3 weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, these are good people. Like this is who I want to be around. So we've seen that in ratings in other markets where at first it was like this, and then it went up. Like we're in Lafayette, Indiana, and that station there went from like a 1.8 to like a 4.4 12 plus, but it took like a year and a half before they
We got to get to know you. You know
before
what I
they
mean?
really got to know us. And
Yeah.
even there, let me tell you, that's still like third or fourth place. It's not number one, but we're doing better. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. I've always wanted to be like the number one. Like if people think I'm really cool and stuff, but I'm just not a really cool person. I'm just more of a friend. I'm a friend, and that's what we do.
Well, it's definitely working for you. So keep it up, man.
Yeah, I hope so. It's weird how at this point in my life, I've been doing the same shtick my whole life, but something happened to where when I lost my hair and I got older, people are like, hey, he's a friendly dad. You know what I mean? When before they were like, he's just a dork, and now they're like, hey, he's doing dad jokes.
Well, yeah, and to some of it, and which is why I think your stuff works on social media too. It's the when you just are comfortable in your own skin and you're just real, it connects with people. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah,
so often early in our careers we get caught up in like what do we think what we think people want us to be. You know what I mean? And we're trying to fit into that mold. And then as we get older, we're just like, I'm just gonna be me, and if it works, it works. You know?
yeah. Hopefully it works. I will say that social media is interesting in that, like radio. Every now and then we get some negativity. You know what I mean? We get like an email or something. You suck, right? Like I didn't like that, or da 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 da. But it was once in a while. On social media, it's every post. You get
Yeah.
someone in there that wants to say something mean, and if you come from a radio background, you're lucky in the sense that it doesn't really affect you if you've been doing this long enough, because I've had people tell me that I'm stupid, annoying, I look like Cartman, my voice is annoying, like everything up and down. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, dumb. I heard it ever since I got into radio at like 17. So you kind of build up a thick skin to it. And then when my stuff started to take off, people were very vicious. And I remember thinking, man, if I wasn't prepared for this, this would have been very mentally, like it would have hurt. Like I would have been sad and upset. And I use it as an example for my daughters, and I'll show them these comments, and they're like, "Well, Dad, why do they say that to you?" I go, "Because it makes them feel better, I guess." And I go, "But you have to understand that their opinions don't define our feelings." So I use it as a like kind of like a learning lesson for them,
Teachable moment. Yeah.
teachable moment. And I'm glad that they're crapping on me and not them, but it's kind of getting them prepared for what social media is, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you will get a lot of attention, and when you do, it may not be the attention you thought you were going to get. And um and that attention is, you better have a thick skin to be prepared for how mean they're going to be. um
Well,
but
I mean, it's in radio, we're used to people saying they don't like our voice or they don't like our personality or our show. So
oh
it's a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
nother level. It's a whole nother level on social because they go after the everything visually. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
your
just
glasses are
tear you apart.
stupid. Your
Yeah.
beard is dumb. I can't
Shut
believe
up,
you wear that
nerd.
stupid shirt.
Glass. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh boy, that's ain't nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it also helps with clicks and engagements. And the one thing I've learned is, if you know that negative, like this, if you know the internet is all about negativity, you can use it to your advantage. So I will purposely misspell things on a post because I know it will gain interaction by 5 to 10%. So I'll do a picture, or I'll put something up and says a truck has crashed into a canal, and I'll misspell canal. I'll put canal because I
Yeah.
know they're going to correct me. And then they go, "That's not how you spell canal." And then I go, "Oh, thank you so much. I didn't know I did that." And then someone else goes, "You're an idiot. You're right. I totally screwed up." What I'm doing is I'm using the negativity I know is coming, and it makes the algorithm shoot up, because then all of a sudden the algorithm thinks, "Well, this must be a popular post because he's got 72 people telling him he's stupid." Right? Comment underneath it, and I always respond, "Oh, you're right. I'm just an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing." And then all of a sudden, the view of that, which would have only been 1,000 views, is now up to 40 or 50,000 views, because you've really fed into what they want, which is the negativity. So sometimes I'll set myself up to be the punching bag because I know it's gonna shoot it up high.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that. I think that's really smart. I mean, that's kind of a trick in talk show radio and in talk radio. One of the tricks to getting phone calls and getting engagement is to leave something out. So a lot of people, when they start doing news talk or sports talk, they like say everything there is to say about a subject, and nobody calls and interacts with them because there's nothing any more to
Oh, yeah,
add.
there's nothing to say.
But
Yeah.
you have to resist that if you have to intentionally leave something out to get them to call and interact and have an opinion. So the same, that's really smart to do that on social, where you intentionally mess something
Um,
up to get them to, because you're absolutely right. The more engagement you get, the higher the algorithm, uh, the higher it goes to the algorithm, and it just takes off. But I've never seen somebody
yeah,
articulate it like that.
I have like 7 or 8 different things I do on every post that I know are going to get a higher engagement. And I always thought, like, maybe I should like write these all down and tell people, because I learned that it's kind of like what you said in radio. But if social media is interesting in that, there's going to be a reaction one way or the other. So if I put a post up and I know this reaction is going to be here, then there's things you can do to create more organic from it, and then you get more followership. And then when you get more followership, things start to skyrocket. And just doing the daily. I used to be that person a long time ago where you just put, "Here's a picture of my food," right? Or
Yeah.
here's me going out to dinner with my family, and you think that you're just so important that people are just going to be like, "Damn, he went to a movie. That guy's so cool." Like, I just I just wish I could go to a movie, but he did. And or here's a picture of me and Post Malone. Wow, he got to meet Post Malone. He's the coolest person I've ever met. No, what they're thinking is, that guy sucks. Why does he get to meet Post Malone? What does
Yeah.
he do that's so special? right? That you get to see Post Malone. It actually makes people turned off from you because they're like, all this guy does is brag. He's got pictures of him and celebrities and da 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 da. So I stopped doing a lot of my celebrity posts. I just, every now and then I'll be like, hey, here's some people I've interviewed or they're coming up on the show. But I don't try to go out of my way with, I got flown to Nashville to meet so and so at a bar. Because 99% of your audience is never going to have that experience and
Yeah,
they're
it's
not
not at all
happy for
relatable.
you.
Yeah.
It's not relatable. They're not happy for you. So I avoid all that stuff. All my stuff is like, I went to McDonald's and I couldn't afford a number two, so I had to use change. And they're like, yeah, me too. That's the person I am. I'm the poor guy that's living the same life.
Well, that's ironic because I've always told talent, I'll say, you think you think they want to see you hanging out backstage, but what they really want to see you is hanging out in the general population, in the general public. The GA. They want to
Oh
see you
yeah,
hanging out in the
yeah, yeah,
GA. They don't want to see you backstage because
yeah.
that now you're one of them.
Yeah,
So it's kind of the
100%.
same
You could
mindset.
either be backstage at Stagecoach interviewing people, and that'll get you minor interaction because they may be curious, or you can be the person who couldn't get into Stagecoach that's out front with a sign that says, I will sell water for tickets, or I'll do this for tickets, right? Like that's funnier and that's viral compared to this. And I,
Yeah,
I think that's also more relatable because no one's, the stuff we think is cool really is cool, but people don't, um, they can't relate to it because they don't get that opportunity. So it's not going to go viral. There's not going to be a lot of people that think it's, interesting. The other thing I like
yeah,
to do is I like to mention things by name. So if and usually in your bold in the top part of it. So there's a guy I don't know if you follow, but I've learned a lot from him. He goes by. Can we cuss on this or no? Can we not cuss?
yep, absolutely.
Okay. He goes by Shitty Radio Jock. And if you watch his Instagram, I'm sure you're aware all he does is crap on people, right? And he only craps on the bad people. He seems to have this moral inside of him. He's got this moral like compass where he gets mad at corporations for firing people and stuff. And I follow a lot of his stuff, and some of it's funny, and some of it I'm like, oh boy, I'm glad he's anonymous. I wouldn't say that. But one thing I noticed from him is he's only got like 3,000 followers, but they're all in radio. They're all in radio. And his engagement is damn near 90%. And I'm like, so I was watching this and I was like, how does he get such a high engagement with only 3,000 followers? And I realized he his topic is radio. His audience is radio. So if you choose a topic and you box it in and your topic is this, you may not have a large followership, but your engagement will be through the roof because that's what those people want to see. So if you'll notice, the people who have like high engagement about Disneyland, their followers all love Disneyland, and all they do is talk about Disneyland. So if you take that same concept for you as a personality or as a radio station, and you just talk about that one thing over and over and over again, your followership will skyrocket. Now, what that one thing is, that's for you to figure out. Maybe you're a sports station and you're an affiliate for the Chargers. Your one thing should be all about the Chargers, right? That's what I'd do. If your one thing is a country station, it's hard to pinpoint just one country artist, but maybe it's a certain genre of country. But that seems to work for me with everything I do, where I make sure that one thing is all I talk about. I just talk about that one thing. And it's just kind of like how we did with formats when we did air checks. They'd always say, you know, um, if
One
you go to
thought per break.
McDonald's and there's one thought per break, and if they're going to McDonald's and you serve them tacos, they're going to be disappointed because they came to McDonald's to get McDonald's, right? It's the same thing
Yeah.
for social media. They're coming to you for that one thing. And once you find out what it is, that's who you are. And that's what you do. And the minute you go out of that realm, they don't like it very much because they didn't come to
Well,
you for that.
and it's fun. I was talking to a guy that worked with record labels recently, and he was calling them. He was calling when they look at a social following, he was calling those vanity metrics, like the followers. He's like the main thing we look at is engagement. because maybe
Yeah.
they have less followers, but if they're getting tons of engagement with only a handful of followers, then that tells us that artist is somebody that if we put money behind them and got them to have a big following, they would blow up. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you mentioned that because I think it's much more important the engagement than the followers, especially if those are followers who are not active.
Oh yeah, and you can see it in a market where you have a station and they're like, "We have 250,000 followers," but each post has one like,
Yep.
two likes, one comment. And I'm like, but do you? I imagine somebody on either got some record money or someone there bought all these bot followers and decided to make that number look big. And when you buy bot followers, the problem is the algorithm doesn't show it to the whole pie of your followership. It only shows it to a sliver. And if that sliver likes your content, it opens it up to more of your pie. But if your followership is mostly robots, they're never going to react with your post, which means it's never going to be told to engage into a larger audience. So I would much rather have 200 real people than 175,000 fake people because those 200 real people will interact with what you're doing.
Well, and even if they are real people and not bots, but they're people that liked your page for a contest you did 10 years ago, but they've never interacted with it since, they're still not of that much value. You know what I mean? It's the
There's
people.
no value. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you're saying, but I love the way you articulate it when it comes to social because a lot of this stuff I've never thought of it in the way that you're kind of that you've thought about, and you clearly put a lot of thought into it. You know.
Yeah, well, because the reason TikTok is so big right now is because TikTok realized that we're all egotistical, and the heroine of a viral video is what makes it good. That we all want a taste of that viral video. We all want a little bit of what notoriety. And on TikTok, if you post 10 things, one of them will go viral. They'll give you a little bit up front. The first one's free, the rest will cost you. So it's like, here you go. You have a new TikTok page. Well, 7 posts later, oh, this one had 17,000 views. That's pretty good. I never got that on Facebook. I never got that on Instagram. And now they've cooked you, hook, line, and sinker. And now you're posting left and right. You've got all these new followers on TikTok. And you're like, what the hell? This is crazy. I'm getting this interaction. But then notice your interaction start to crash. And then you get that feeling of like, why is my interaction down here so low? Because they've already hooked you. They know that you want it. And now they're like, hey, do you want to boost it? We can get you that 17,000 views again. It's, it's only 20 coins. And you're like, 20
Yeah.
coins? How much is 20 coins? And they're like, oh, that's easy. You can buy 10 coins for $5. Oh, that's $10. And I can get that same feeling I got when I first signed up for your app. Yeah, come on. Come over here. Come on. Take another hit.
Yeah,
Take some
and
more.
and
Uh,
their algorithm is kind of the best right now, and that's why you see uh, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's almost like they're starting to copy TikTok's algorithm because it's so addictive. I
100%.
mean,
Yeah.
you know,
100%. Instagram switched over about a year ago and it's almost identical. You'll notice it because before people weren't going viral on Instagram at all. And now everyone's got something where they're like, hey, this reached 10,000 people. There's a guy in my market who's a photographer, no front teeth. He's not the best looking guy. He did a video of his trash can melting and he said, move to Bakersfield, they said. It's got like 2 million views. And I'm like, look, they're letting everybody go viral because they realized what TikTok realized is it doesn't cost you anything to let someone go viral, and once
yeah,
you hook them, they're in for life. You got them in there. So it's not just going viral the one time; it's going viral multiple times. That one video
yeah,
I did, the apples and oranges one, it's up to 27 million views. So more people saw that video than I think the season finale of Friends. I think I'm close on that one. Um, but it didn't pay me anything. I didn't get any money. I don't make any money off this. I use it for my radio stations. I use it to like help, sell packages and be like, look, I kind of know what I'm doing. Um, and then for the
yeah.
radio show.
You'll make your money off of it in the long run, absolutely, because
Yeah.
it's all brand building. This is all we're doing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And then what I've noticed is they reach out to me. Everyone reaches out to you online. Will you come do a video at my place? I go, I'm the wrong guy to ask because I'm not going to show up and do a paid thing where this is all great. If it sucks, I'm going to say it sucks. So if you're prepared for that, then I will come out and I will do a real video of your store. But you're not going to pay me $300 to come give my thumbs up and say how great it is. And if it's not good, I'm not going to say that. Like that's not what I do. Now, if you buy a radio package, I will say it's great all day long. I'll endorse it up and down because that's more money. But on Instagram, but that's what a lot of these ones are doing is they just
yeah,
it's like the going rate right now, just so people know, is like $200 to $400. If you have less than 50,000 followers, like 20,000, you can charge a restaurant or business about $200 to $300 to show up and do a video there if you have high interaction. If you have more than that, you can charge them $1,000 to 500 to 1,000. If you get in the range of millions, I have a friend here locally who's got 1.7 million followers on Instagram, and he basically gets like free vacations and trips, and he
yep.
shows up and he just puts it on his stories. He doesn't do a reel with it. He just does stories with it. When they do, he just gets vacations out of it. So I think there is money to be made there, but you have to be able to market yourself too.
But it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't. Everyone thinks it takes like millions upon millions across all platforms. You can start making some money much faster than that.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you can get to like 5, 10,000, and like we said earlier, it's all about engagement. So you got to get engagement. How do you get people into what you're doing? And don't worry about what you look like. The rawer the video footage, the better, because you have to understand most of these people are raised on YouTube. So YouTube is like a really crappy, unproduced video outlet. So they're used to unproduced. They want it to be raw. That's why I never produce anything. I never put they don't want that, and it's very simple to do. And once you get going, you don't have to be good looking. I mean, look at this. You can be ugly. In fact, the uglier you are, it seems like the better you can do. So
Well, because
it's
they want real.
changed.
They want real, and
Yeah,
that's what I get a lot of. I have a face for radio. I shouldn't. I'm not comfortable behind the camera. I'm not camera friendly. It's like, dude, that's gone out the window. You don't have to look like a TV
yeah. You don't
host.
have to
I
look.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you don't have to look like a Hollywood actor or actress to do this stuff. They're wanting real people. You know, that's what works.
yeah.
So
They want you to be funny, and it's personality based. And the people in my area that are huge is a guy named Leo out of Hanford. He's got like 1.3 million, and he's a Hispanic guy, comedian. He's all over TV. He's been going across the nation, and he's a bigger dude, not the best looking guy, but he's funny as hell. And they eat it up. They eat up his comedy, and I think that's where I was like, oh, I think I could do this because I always did. I didn't like to be in front of a lot of these videos, and I started putting myself out there more. And I realized, like, oh, once you get beyond the initial hate comments, those people leave, and then the people who like you stay, and then all of a sudden you start
yeah,
building up like people that are nicer to you.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you took that leap and started creating this content because it's good stuff, and you're an inspiration to other radio people to show them, hey, you can do this stuff. Just take that leap and try it.
Yeah, it's every day. Try to do something, and anything can be content. It doesn't matter what it is. I can take a picture of anything, a video, and you can be content. And I will say the easiest thing you can do as a radio person, if you're afraid of doing this, the easiest thing, and this is kind of a trick. So this is one of my tricks, is if you videotape something, you get 7 to 10 seconds of it, and then you go into your file in your phone, and you go into edit, and then you mute it so there's no audio on it, right? And then you save it with no audio on it, and then when you go into Instagram, you load it up, and now you have your video, and then you go to voiceover, and you click voiceover, which is what we all do, right? We're all in radio. And then you come up with some sort of absurd story about what you're looking at, or you just talk about what you're looking at, and then you copy, you hit send, you title it, you put it out there. That takes you maybe 5 minutes to do. If you did one of those every single day about your city, you'll be viral within 6 months. And it's very
Yeah,
simple to do. It's very simple to do. And you don't even have to be on camera. You could do it from behind camera. And what you'll notice is people will recognize your voice because you're in radio. And they'll go, oh, that's the guy from, WKRP. And they're like, yeah. And then if you, once you get more comfortable, you can start putting your face in it a little bit, like, hey, that's me. Right. And then go in there. Unless you just really like the attention like I do, then just do it all full out. But I've learned with my followers, they don't like looking at me the whole time. They like hearing what I'm saying. They like the visual I'm making fun of. So that's why with me, there'll be a little bit of me like, hey, da 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 da, and then I cut to a clip, and then it goes to that because I've learned with Danny less is more because I've done all videos with all me, and they don't like that very much. And I've
Yeah.
done videos without me at all, and that's okay. But it's a little bit of it's a little bit of both. Like they want to see who I am, and then they want to like, okay, I get it. That's Danny.
But that's the
And then
beauty of it is you get to see in real time whether it's working, what's not, and refine it accordingly. You know.
yeah, and I've also used it for my radio show too because I go, oh boy. So I think the secret sauce for me is, I used to talk for 3 minutes the whole time, talk, 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 and I'm like, wait a minute, what if we talk, 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 play audio, just like you do on Instagram? We talk, 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 play audio, and all of a sudden you're breaking it up. So what we're doing is we're actually presenting these things like you would on Instagram, and that seems to be the killer. That's the part where it's like, oh. I replaced taking those live phone calls because I can't, when you're syndicated with playing audio. And that seems to be the secret sauce, or at least for me, because it's, me talking the whole time. My voice or maybe what I'm saying, I wear on people for too long, but they do like me in spurts. So, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, they not,
Well,
not,
and
not the whole bottle of vodka, but just a shot of it, and we're okay, right?
that's funny, man. Well, I kept you way longer than I intended to, so I'm sorry about that. But man, you've shared some really cool tips and tricks on the social stuff that I think people can put into practice. So appreciate your time. And how do they get a hold of? It's G Networks they go to about the syndication, right?
Yeah, G Network's on their website. Just look up the Danny and Kate show, and then they can contact Rich, or they can reach out to me directly, and then I do a lot of the footwork too. And my Instagram is at DJ Danny Hill. My Twitter is at DJ Danny Hill. My Facebook is at DJ Danny Hill. It's all DJ Danny Hill. But if you want to see the Instagram stuff I do and see that, and like I said, it's none of my ideas are original. I steal all of them. So my content. I'm making a joke that I thought of, but everything I'm doing so just mimic what I'm doing, or if you see something that works, mimic it, and I promise you, you can be successful at it. And just don't
Like
give up.
they always say, better to copy genius than create mediocrity, right?
Right? That's true. That's good.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Danny.
Hey, I appreciate you, Andy. Thank you so much.
Radio Influencers is a radio update production. New episodes are released on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.